Victor had spent years within the walls of his grand but lonely house. It stood on the outskirts of town, shrouded in ivy and mystery, its windows rarely opened, its doors never unlatched. He was a man of silence, of routine, of carefully controlled solitude. The world outside terrified him, not because it was cruel, but because it was unknown. It wasn't always this way. Once, he had been a boy who ran through fields, climbed trees, and let the sun kiss his skin. But time, loss, and fear had caged him. The world had become a place of chaos, unpredictable and overwhelming. So, he built his refuge. Within these walls, he could control everything. The air he breathed, the light that touched him, the sound that entered his ears. He could live without surprises, without risks, without pain. But loneliness had its own voice. At night, it whispered through the cracks in the walls. During the day, it pressed against the windows, pleading to be let in. He ignored it, until the night she arrived. It began as a flicker of gold through his window. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, a sunbeam stretching into his room, bending unnaturally, curling like a living thing. But then, he heard a voice, soft, musical, impossible. "Why do you hide?" Victor's heart pounded. He backed away from the window, staring at the golden glow. Slowly, it took form, a figure, delicate and radiant, hovering just beyond the glass. She had golden hair that shimmered like liquid fire, eyes that reflected the sky at dawn, and wings made of pure sunlight. "I am Solara," she said, her voice like wind through chimes. "I've been watching your house for a long time." Victor's throat tightened. "Who are you?" "A sun fairy," she answered with a gentle smile. "You never step outside." "Why?" He looked away. "I have no reason to." Solara drifted closer, pressing her hand against the glass. "Then let me show you one." And so, every day, at the hour when the sun cast golden light into his room, she returned. She told him stories of the sky, of the rivers that glowed at sunset, of mountains that whispered in the wind. She described the laughter of children playing in fields, the way the ocean roared like a beast but held the gentleness of a mother. She spoke of the scent of flowers after rain, the thrill of chasing a butterfly, the endless expanse of the world beyond his walls. Victor listened. He never spoke much, but she saw the wonder in his eyes, the longing that he refused to admit. One evening, she stretched out her hand. "Come with me." His breath caught. He wanted to. Oh, how he wanted to. But he couldn't. "I can't," he whispered. She did not press him. She only smiled and said, "Then I'll bring the world to you." Solara became his light. Every day, she painted visions of the world with her words. But soon, words were not enough. She began bringing him pieces of the outside, petals from the meadow, a smooth river stone, a single feather from a bird in flight. She placed them in his hands, watching as he traced their textures, memorizing them like sacred artifacts. One day, she brought him the scent of the sea. She danced outside his window, spinning so fast that sunlight wove into golden mist. And then, with a breath, she sent it through the cracks in the window. The salty, wild air filled his lungs, and for a moment, he was there, standing on a distant shore, feeling the waves kiss his feet. Another time, she brought the music of a festival. She flew above the town square, gathering the laughter, the melody of flutes, the drumbeats that pulsed like a heartbeat. Then, in the quiet of his home, she released them. The sound echoed through his lonely halls, filling the silence with life. Victor began to change. He left his window open longer. He started speaking more. He laughed. And then, one day, he realized something terrifying. He had fallen in love with her. Victor never said the words. He never told her how much she meant to him. He feared that if he did, she would vanish like a dream upon waking. But one evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, she stood outside his window, her light dimmer than usual. "I have to go," she said softly. His chest tightened. "Go where?" "There's a world beyond this place, Victor. I cannot stay forever." Panic seized him. "Don't leave me," he whispered. Solara's golden eyes filled with sadness. She reached through the window, brushing her fingers against his. "I never wanted to be your cage," she said. "I wanted to be your wings." And then, just as the last light of the sun faded, so did she. Victor sat in darkness. The walls that once felt safe now felt like a tomb. He pressed his hands against his chest, trying to hold on to the warmth she had left behind, but it was slipping. And then he realized something. The door was still there. The lock, unbroken. For the first time in years, he turned the handle. The air outside was different than he remembered. Colder, richer, filled with scents he had long forgotten. The sky stretched above him, endless and waiting. He took a step, then another. His legs trembled, but he did not stop. He walked to the meadow where she had danced. He walked to the river whose stones she had placed in his hands. He walked until the world no longer felt foreign but familiar. Then, with his heart pounding, he whispered, "She was never just sunlight. She was my courage." And as he spoke, the golden warmth of the setting sun embraced him, as if she had never left at all. Lesson: love isn't always about staying. Sometimes, it's about showing someone how to move forward.